or two. It's a weird delay.
You are looking live
Oh boy.
at Bumper Night. Yeah, man, this is the episode I've been looking forward to ever since. I mean, geez, before I even talk to you, Tom, this is the episode I was looking forward to, just because we can break down the most fun sports time of the year, March Madness. And Paul, I'm gonna be wearing my glasses more today than I normally do because I can't see without them.
You got to work today, don't you?
Yeah, it's not fair. Usually, I'm just the eye candy.
Yeah, that's what I refer to you as.
All right, y'all want to get ready? Go ahead and start. I mean, we got one viewer. I think that's enough.
This is the most wonderful time of the year, so this should be fun.
I love it. I love it. So, first of all, welcome to Bumper Night, Tom Hodgson, also known as the Crazed Lunatic. Awesome to have you here tonight.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, just to give our thousands and thousands of fans, I should have done a rock thing right there. Millions and millions of fans, a little background. And Tom, I want you to jump in because obviously you know yourself better than I do. Tom's been running this contest called Stomp the Lunatic for 30 years, I believe.
Yeah, it's been about 30 years.
Tell us more.
I started it back when I was in college as a Purdue student, and it took on my nickname from college, which was the Crazed Lunatic. And it used to be called Beat the Lunatic because when I was in college and really paying attention, I was actually pretty good at picking the teams, and it was hard to beat me. And then middle age came and working and for a real job, and now we call it Stomp the Lunatic because there's so many people who joined from my years at Capital One and Bank of America that we now have somewhere close to about typically between 270 and 330 entries. And nice. And most of the time, a good chunk of them beat me. And so we now have affectionately changed it to Stomp the Lunatic because typically everyone kind of stomps me in this thing. But yeah. I still do all kinds of crazy stuff on the site. I blog consistently through the tournament, which is typically what some of the people who log in actually do it for. It's worth the humor of watching the Purdue fans suffer every year. And I'll talk about the bracket. I'll try to predict who the selection committee will do. Always failed miserably at that. I'll start handicapping games so that you can basically figure out who I think will win according to the Vegas line, so you can bet the other team. And it all works great.
I love it. I love it. Now, I'll tell you this, Tom, my wife is sending the link out. So you may get more. I hope you get more people this year than you even had before. I don't want to flood you, with our millions of fans. But yeah, I think one of the most entertaining things about it that I learned really quickly was the blogging that you do. You bring your kids into it, your wife, they do the picks too. It's a lot of fun just to follow, and you do know more than you're admitting, because when I read your blogs after, let's say, the first Thursday night, after that 16 games goes, I learn a lot just reading what you wrote, based on what happened in the games and what's coming up. So you do a great job of that. So it's a lot of fun. And where did you get the Lunatic name?
So it's a really stupid thing from college. I was up with a bunch of friends studying all night for an exam, and we finished like an hour before the exam was at like 7:30 test. We finished at like 5 o'clock studying, and so we thought, it's an hour till breakfast. Why don't we play a game of cards? And so we're playing cards, and someone came in and goes, "Have you been playing cards all night before the finals?" And I'm like, yeah, we're just lunatics. Okay. And he's like going, that's silly, is it? Yeah, we're crazed lunatics. He goes, that's redundant. I said, well, we're crazy, so why not? And for some reason, the name just stuck. So I became the Crazed Lunatic to my friends, and the name has endured throughout the next 30 years.
I love it. I won't tell you what Gilman's friends call him, but it's not that pleasant.
Nothing we can repeat in front of pleasant and polite company.
No, not at all. Not at all. So now I want to make sure that people, because this is gonna be on a on Apple Podcasts later this week, so it's before the tournament starts. So people who wait and listen to us on Wednesday can still get this information. Not only do you can put 2 entries in, both for $5, and after the first weekend, tell us a little bit about the second chance thing that you do.
Yeah, so we have tons of ways of winning. So a couple other people had pools at Capital One, and I hated the fact that you'd have all these people in it and only one person would win. And so with my pool, we tried to make it fun, tried to make there be a lot of winners. We normally pay the top 10 the standard way. We allow that entry to also have upsets. So there's an upset scoring where we score you by your seed. So if you predict that 14 Yale is going to beat my Boilermakers, you're going to get 14 points for it. And so because of the fact that there's two different options of how you could win, we allow you to have a second pick. So you can have one pick that's your sane picks and then one that's your crazy upset picks. And then what we found is that a lot of, I kind of took an idea from another friend who does these, that they had a second chance. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever, because you basically, after Oral Roberts wins against Ohio State and you basically have your whole thing blown up, like you get a second chance to actually play. And so you don't even have to pay any money for that part. All you have to do is have an entry that's already there. You get to enter your second chance picks on the on the Sweet 16. That gives you another chance to get your money back. I
love it. And tell us the website. What's the website address?
It's www.tehotson, which is HODGSON.com, Stomp the Lunatic.
Is there a backslash in there?
Yeah, there's a backslash after the T. The T. Hotson.
Tell me if you can see that.
T stands for Tom and Elizabeth, my
nice.
Wonderful wife, who amazingly lets me do this every year.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Hey, Tom, real quick before we jump into the bracket, do you remember if anyone was able to garner that 16 points when the only 16 seed to ever be the one?
Come on.
I'm just wondering, did anybody pick that?
So there was, however, they didn't do very well because they were trying to scam the upset picks. And so they were basically picking all the 16s, all the 15s.
Okay.
They're trying to basically figure that if they if a lot of upsets happen, they would win. So I don't really think they thought that UMBC was going to win against Virginia, but there is a record that someone did it. I'm pretty sure.
Hey, Kevin, explain yourself why you even brought that up. Because
I was going to explain it. So Paul's a UVA grad, so one of the greatest stories and to me, NCAA tournament history is UVA losing as a 1 seed and then coming back the next year and winning the whole thing. And I know that's kind of hard for you, Tom, being a Purdue fan, because that game was a little sketchy, But
well, I wouldn't say it was sketchy. It just it was, I've always said that when you watch college basketball, it's one of the greatest things ever because you couldn't get a Hollywood writer to basically write a movie that can make some of this stuff up. And watching Virginia be down 3 with just a couple seconds left in the game, hit the first free throw, miss it, have the ball go all the way into the backcourt, and then have someone fling the ball up to the front and have him just turn and shoot. Like you can't make that stuff up.
that was Mamadi Diakite, and he, Kevin, that was not a shady game. You're talking about the Auburn double dribble game.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
the Auburn game.
All right.
The Auburn game had a little bit more controversy in it. Yes, that's right.
Hey, look, I'm a Tar Heel fan, and we've won some shady games in the past. So I'm not above that.
Do you know what Duke basketball and UNC basketball from this year have in common?
What?
They both
What?
just lost to Virginia Tech in the ACC tournament.
That's right, they did.
Which makes you happy as a UVA fan? I don't get it.
My son goes Virginia Tech, baby.
Well,
Hey, they look great, man. They did a great job, kicked our butt, and then they put it on Duke. I think they're going to win. Hey, that's a great segue, Paul. Let's get into the bracket because I got Virginia Tech winning a couple games. So if you guys don't mind, and I put my glasses on so I can see, let's start and just jump in whenever you. I'm gonna go down. I'm not gonna name every game because that would be. Do you guys have a bracket in front of you?
I have some notes in front of me. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well,
Did you want
let's
to
start
start?
out west.
Did you want to start with Virginia Tech's bracket, or are you going to start from the top with Gonzaga's?
Well, let me see if I can find Virginia Tech's bracket. There they are. Yeah, let's do the East first. I like what you're doing there, Tom. Let's start with Virginia Tech's bracket because right now, because that's got my boys in there as well. So Baylor's the 1 seed. Kentucky's the 2. Looks like if I can see correctly, and it's dark in here, who's the 3 seed in this bracket?
My Boilers.
Your Boilers. Oh, okay, there they are. That is a 3. And then you got UCLA as the 4. I'm really gonna go old man. I'm gonna use there we go. That's a flashlight. You like that? So what do you guys got going here? So I'm thinking that we pick maybe we pick who we think's coming out of this bracket and maybe who we think could be a surprise or two.
Well,
What do you guys think?
So I can tell you because I obviously am a Purdue fan that I'll be rooting for Purdue. So I'm hope like my picks I almost guarantee will probably have Purdue coming out.
Okay.
But to be honest, I would probably, if I was picking like an expert, I would probably lean toward either Kentucky or UCLA. I think Baylor is the most vulnerable of the 4 seeds, and I think the committee gave them no favors by throwing Kentucky, Purdue, and UCLA all into their region with them. No, so I think that's probably the region where you're most likely going to see a 1 seed not make it.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Gilman, the Norfolk State Spartans might take y'all off of that list of being the only team that's lost as a 1 seed because Norfolk State can play, and Baylor is a little shaky this year. I think they've lost a couple. I mean, they had a good season, but it wouldn't overall shock me if Norfolk State won that game. Now, of course, I'm rooting for Norfolk State because the Tar Heels are playing in the bracket right below against Marquette, which is shaka smart. So I'm not expecting to win that game.
I think your Tar Heels can beat Marquette.
I hope. I would certainly hope so. I don't know about Baylor or Norfolk State, but I do have Tech playing Purdue, and I think I have Purdue beating them. But just because Purdue is just a solid team this year, I'm actually surprised they lost to Iowa. But Iowa's also the Big Ten itself is very, very solid. I mean, when Michigan makes the tournament at 17-14, you know the league is strong this year.
Yeah, it's a tough conference to play in. That doesn't always lead to having a national champion, but it definitely, from top to bottom, it's a tough night every game.
So let me ask you all this. Tell me, who you got coming out of the bracket. No, I take that back. Who do you have in the Elite Eight? Which 2 teams are playing to come out of this bracket? And which team would you say has the most chance as a high seed, or I guess it would be called a low seed, a double-digit seed, to go into the Sweet 16?
So right now I have UCLA upsetting Baylor to get to the Elite Eight, and then I have Purdue hanging on against Kentucky because of my homer pick. So that's why I would say that, I think UCLA or Kentucky are probably more realistic since, Purdue seems to let me down each year. But if I was thinking about upsets, I really do like Virginia Tech. I think Texas has been struggling a little bit as of late. And you get a team like Virginia Tech who's super hot, who just won their conference tournament. Like I actually really like that pick. Um, I I think that San Francisco might be able to upset Murray State in the 7-10 game.
Yeah.
That one's going to be a really close one, and it's hard to judge because those mid majors they don't tend to have a lot of games against power conference teams that we're more traditionally able to watch, and so it's hard to tell which one's going to come out. But I think that that's one San Francisco might pull out. And then I would actually take the play-in winner. So you've got Wyoming or Indiana playing up against St. Mary's. And one of the things that I tend to notice is that when there's teams that surprise to come in, like a Wyoming, they tend to actually do really well. Like everyone like says bad things about them, and then somehow or another they start winning in the tournament. Okay.
VCU is a prime example of that. Remember VCU's Final Four run? They weren't supposed to even be there. I mean, they were getting cooked the day of the selection. There's no way they should be in here.
Yep, that's exactly it. Is the committee goes and picks a team like VCU, they award that mid-major, and everyone starts going, "Oh my gosh, it can't! How did they get in over like Texas A&M?"
Right.
And which I kind of am surprised too that Texas A&M didn't get in.
Me too.
But they tend to do well, and so I tend to try to pick them.
So, Paul, who you got?
I've got, and I'm not just saying this because Tom is on our podcast, but I've got Purdue coming out of this region, and I've got them beating North Carolina, actually.
What?
Wow.
You heard what I said. So look, North Carolina loses in the first round. I'm ecstatic.
What I said.
If they make it to the Elite Eight, and I predicted it, I love that too. And my sleeper pick coming out of this is San Fran. I think San Fran's going to make it to the Sweet 16.
So that would be awesome. I would love to see that too.
I know Paul well enough to know he didn't do that on purpose, but you're a Purdue guy, I'm a Carolina guy, and he picked our teams to get to the Elite Eight. If UVA was on this bracket somewhere, I'd pick them.
That would be silly because they don't deserve to be in the NIT this year.
All right, so I like what you guys did there. I took UCLA to come out of the top and play Kentucky, and Kentucky to advance. I just think they got too many athletes. They're not as highly rated. I think this year coming throughout the year, I think they've gotten better as the season's gone on. Because typically Kentucky's a young team, so they're going to do that. But I think they're hot at the right time. They ran into Tennessee. Did they run into Tennessee in the SEC tournament? I think they did. And Tennessee's hot.
Yeah.
We'll get to them in a little bit. But I like your San Francisco. Both of you picked San Francisco as a potential surprise. I like that. But I'm going to tell you, I think Virginia Tech could blow up this bracket. They've got the Wolford connection with Young as their coach, and that kid Storm playing point guard, and they've been in the tournament. They know what this is about, and the way they played in the ACC tournament. Now they got a week of rest. I don't think they're going to come in feeling themselves. I think they're going to come in playing like Bulldogs, like they did last weekend. And they literally, I would not be shocked if they came out of this bracket. A couple upsets happen, they could be sitting there waiting for somebody from the West in the Final Four. So we'll see. That's good. That's good. All right, let's switch up to the West now. I'll go straight to you, Tom, because I Duke's in this bracket, and probably my second favorite team. And Gilman gives me crap about this, but I've been on their bandwagon for 23 years is Gonzaga. So I'll let you tell us what you think.
So I did pick the chalk in this bracket. I think Gonzaga is going to actually beat Duke in the final in order to make it to the Final Four. Okay. I keep telling myself I want to pick Duke. Okay. Duke beat Gonzaga earlier in the season. So Duke certainly has the talent in order to win this region. I'm a little bit nervous that all of the hype around Coach K is just too much for them because they dominated the ACC. They blew North Carolina out in at North Carolina, and then in the final game of the season, North Carolina comes into their own house for their celebration, and North Carolina kicks their butt. Okay, and then they go into the ACC tournament. They don't play very well. They managed to sneak by a couple of opponents, and then Virginia Tech beats them in the final in the last chance to win Coach K an ACC championship. I just have this nervousness around them that while they have the talent, if they get to that Elite Eight game, I have a concern that the pressure of getting Coach K to one last Final Four might just be too much.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I think there's two things about Duke that surprised me this year. Well, not two things that surprised me. Two things I think are going to be their undoing in this tournament. And just to let you know, after the Tar Heels beat them, Gilman and I watched that together. I put money on Duke to win it all because I know how that works. So it wasn't a lot of money, but I figured, hey, if they win it all, at least I'll win some money off of it. But the two things about Duke, number one is what you said. You spot on. When it gets to the last 5 minutes of one of these games, and it could be Coach K's last game ever, how tight are these kids going to be? Because there's not a lot of seniors on that team, right?
Right,
Paul?
I was going to say, I don't think it's the last 5 minutes. I think it's the second half. They start getting tight the entire second half.
Yeah. And now I was going to say another negative about them is they play a lot of one-on-one ball. They're not typical Duke games because they have so much talent. I mean, no one can guard Banchero. I'd probably just give it to him every time and see if he can score every time. But playing like that might be okay if Banchero doesn't have the jitters like the rest of the team, but I don't think it's going to win too many NCAA tournament games playing like that. But anyway, back to you, Tom. You said Gonzaga, Duke. Who do you got as a dark horse?
So I would watch out for Arkansas. I think Arkansas is a really underrated team that no one really knows about. I think Texas A&M kind of made people not realize how good Arkansas is because of the fact that they were on their run to try to make it into the tournament. But Arkansas is playing almost as good as anyone else in the country right now. And so they're a dangerous team as a 4 seed. But I think the chalk is going to take this. I don't think there's going to really be a dark horse like someone like a 7 or an 8 seed coming through here. Michigan State's just too. I think they might be able to beat Davidson, but they're too inconsistent. I actually like the Rutgers Notre Dame game for the winner of the play-in against Alabama because Alabama's lost something like I think it's 4 of their last 6. And then I actually like New Mexico State over Creighton. I don't know if you. Oh, I'm sorry, over UConn. I watched the Big East final with Creighton and Villanova. And watched, after watching a whole bunch of games and watching a bunch of teams just nailing 3-pointers whenever they get the ball open, and then watching the Creighton Villanova game where they get wide open and then throw up a brick, and you're just like going, this doesn't seem to be at the same level as like the other conferences that I've been watching, like the ACC and the Big Ten, and so. I think UConn could be a good upset pick.
Yep. I like it. Paul, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with the commentary around Duke. I think they're going to get tight at some point. They probably don't make it into the Elite Eight. I actually have Arkansas coming out of this region. I've seen them play a couple games. I've seen them play against some of the better SEC talent. They are a legitimately good team, and I think they're getting hot at the right time of year. I have them playing Texas Tech. So I actually don't have any faith in Gonzaga or Duke to come out of this region. Gonzaga, I swear, I love the story Cinderella from however many years ago, but they've really never made it beyond the hype. maybe a couple teams made it beyond the hype, but most of their teams have not made it past the hype, and I expect this year to be very, very similar. And I'm with Tom on the play-in game. I think whoever comes out of that play-in game probably beats Alabama and maybe wins another game after that to make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of you on the play-in game. I picked Notre Dame or Rutgers to beat Alabama and potentially beat Texas Tech, but I'm chalking it up to Gonzaga over Duke in the Elite Eight. I do think Duke's going to trip up. I just don't know when, so I went ahead and picked them to get all the way to the Elite Eight. And your Arkansas pick, I like that a lot. Musselman has always been a good coach and a good tournament coach, so I wouldn't be shocked if they got to the Final Four. But as a dark horse, Tom, New Mexico State, and I think they got a good draw with UConn. But I wouldn't be surprised if Davidson comes out, whips Michigan State, and then gives Duke a really, really good run for their money. Davidson looked really strong. I think Richmond had the Cinderella slipper on Sunday, but Davidson looked like they could do some damage if they control the pace and all that good stuff. So good stuff for the West. Let's move to the South, where Arizona's the 1, Villanova's the 2, Tennessee, the hot Volunteers, who potentially could have gotten a 2 or even a 1, according to some folks, is the 3, and Illinois, to me, a little bit of a surprising 4. Haven't played great lately, but Tom, what do you got?
Well, I mean, once again, sometimes you gotta go with the chalk here. Arizona is this is one of the harder teams that I have to pick because I think Arizona's been beating everyone. And 31-3, they won their conference tournament. They beat a Final Four team from last year with UCLA. So they look really, really strong. I also watched Tennessee in the SEC tournament, and they looked amazing. And so if anyone can beat Arizona, it's going to be Tennessee, but I don't think that anyone else other than those two teams are going to do much.
Okay.
This is one of the brackets I actually have an upset. I actually have Loyola of Illinois to not only upset Ohio State but take out Villanova to make it to the Sweet 16 again. So they seem to have a lot of luck in the tournament, and so I like them again this year.
I like it. Paul, what do you got?
This is based on not very much other than me just staring at the bracket right now because I have not filled out a bracket yet. I have Houston come out of this region, and I think Colorado State. I can't tell you anything about them, but I just like their name. I just got a feeling about them. Colorado State is going to play them in the Elite Eight, and Longwood. And I'm a homer because my mom went to Longwood. They're going to do some damage in the tournament this year.
Well, friend of the podcast, Steve Sands, is a Colorado State alum, so maybe that's what you.
Right there it is.
That's nice. Where you were going.
Nice.
Yeah, I have Tennessee coming out of this bracket. Just I don't know why. I just think it's their time. They're playing great. I do have Loyola winning the first round and then potentially a second round game. I also have Chattanooga. Like I said, I don't think Illinois is that great this year, and I think Houston's going to struggle with UAB, and then Chattanooga's going to get to the Sweet 16. That's
oh my,
yeah, Chattanooga, and so that'll give Arizona or Bryant, whichever team comes out of that first round game, Arizona or Bryant will have a walk in the park to get to the Elite Eight. If Bryant gets to the Elite Eight, I might change my name to Bryant.
Wright State's playing Bryant, right?
Wright State's playing Bryant in the play-in game.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that Bryant got a person's name is in the tournament. I love that.
Is it actually a person?
Huh?
Never mind.
No, go ahead.
No, you're good. I've never heard of Bryant.
So little known fact about Bryant. I believe that Bryant has the NCAA's leading scorer.
Wow.
You're right.
I don't remember what the kid's name is, but he scores like 30 points a game. Yes. I remember seeing replays of them when they were winning their championship 25-4 before a brawl broke out. Yeah, and you see him go and score a layup, and they start doing push-ups on the floor. I've never seen anyone do something like that before.
Yeah, He's cocky, but he's good.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that he's going to have the same level of success against the Arizona guards.
Yeah, I don't either. It'll be fun to watch though, for sure. All right, so it sounds like we're pretty Arizonaed out on that one, except for you, Gilman. You said Houston's going to come out of that bracket.
Yeah,
All right.
I have no idea, dude. I might
Well-
win this year just because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, you're wearing a chainsaw hat to a Bumper Night podcast. So what do you want?
New hat new night, new hat.
I like it. All right, the last bracket, the Midwest. Kansas a 1, Auburn a 2. Looks like Wisconsin. Is Wisconsin a 3? And
Yep.
Providence is a 4. And then
Yep.
the Iowa Hawkeyes are 5. See, I would have put Iowa as a 3, but I guess you can't just jump them all the way up there. So, Tom, what do you think?
Well, this is the bracket that I'm struggling the most with because, like, I am not a Kansas fan. I really don't like Kansas, and yet I don't know. Like, this whole bracket seems to be falling apart. Like, you have Providence, which lost by 28 points in their semifinal to Creighton. You have Wisconsin that finished their season losing to Nebraska and was it Indiana? I think it was.
Yeah.
And then you have Auburn, who's lost like 3 of their last 7 games.
Yeah.
I just don't. And they lost in their quarterfinal as well. So I think you kind of have to take Kansas and have them go through. They've got I will tell you this, of the 1 seeds, Kansas I think has the easiest route to the Final Four. That probably means that they're going to lose, but
I thought you were going to throw South Dakota State at me.
but I mean, I like Iowa. I mean, I watched Iowa basically blitz a bunch of teams in the Big Ten tournament. I think they're going to make it to the Sweet 16 for sure because there's no way I can pick a team that lost by 28 points in their tournament to make it through. I actually like South Dakota State for that reason.
Yeah.
If you're going to pick a 13 seed to win, going up against Providence, I think is your best bet. Not to mention the fact that South Dakota State has some of the best 3-point shooting in the country, and so having a bunch of guards shooting the ball from 25 out against a team that's struggling, like that's a good combination. So
aren't they the Jackrabbits too? I mean,
they're the Jackrabbits. So how can you
can't beat that?
How can you not go for a team that's called the Jackrabbits?
That's fantastic. So you got Kansas coming out. Anybody could make a run to get to the Elite 8?
Elite 8
or Sweet 16. I mean, you never know.
If I had to pick someone from the bottom side of the bracket, I'd probably pick Auburn simply because of the fact that, I think while they've lost a few games recently, they were against the top part of the SEC, if I remember correctly. And the SEC is brutal. I just have a little bit more confidence in them than I do in Wisconsin. Although Wisconsin's guards, if you end up in a 2-point game, like I like Wisconsin's chances because their guards hit those threes at the end. Johnny Davis and I think can't remember his last name, but I know it's Chucky because it's my son goes, "Who calls their kid Chucky?" I said, "I don't know, but Chucky's killing us."
yeah. There you go. Chucky's killing us. I love it. All right, Paul, what you got?
This is entirely about Auburn getting screwed in 2019 by my alma mater. I think this is a year they make it to the Final Four. I think they come out of this region. Tom, I appreciate your point, them losing 3 out of 7 and losing in the quarterfinals of their conference tournament. But most of the national champions and a lot of the Final Four, they didn't sniff their conference championship. And so it's just fun because you never know. It depends on how the ball bounces in each game. And then I think Iowa's a solid team this year. I think they're going to the Elite Eight. And just because I love the Jackrabbit mascot as well, South Dakota State is going to do a little bit of damage.
I like it. I'm with you there, Paul. I got Auburn playing Iowa in the Elite Eight, and then Auburn going to the Final Four. Same reason. I do agree with Tom's assessment, but I think Auburn with Jabari Smith, he's an awesome freshman, and Kessler, the old Carolina center, has really done a good job, not only on the offensive end, but on the defensive end. When you have somebody that's that athletic, which is the reason why I think Gonzaga is gonna do well, is they've got Holmgren back there who weighs 112 pounds, but he can jump out of the gym. He's got long arms, and he can guard the basket like no one.
All I heard after Gonzaga was hype.
Wow. It's funny. It's funny you say that. They've been to the NCAA tournament final 2 of the last 4 years, but you say they haven't lived up to the hype.
Nope.
Wow.
All right. Well,
they have to win one, I guess. Well, now
the hype in those 2 years, they were supposed to win it all, right?
I mean, okay.
I will tell you this. It's been a long time. I think it's been since – when did Kentucky win? Back in 2011 or 2012? That's the last time that the number one consensus team has won the tournament. And so
– it was 2012 because VCU went to the Final Four, and I think it was 12, Tom.
Yeah, but that's not good news for Gonzaga fans.
No, not at all. Not at all. It wouldn't shock me if they went down and didn't live up to the hype. All right, so last thing we'll do, we're coming up on 37 minutes. Let's just throw out, I think we've already done it, but let's just make it clear so we can revisit this tape. Who do you guys got in the Final Four, and who you got winning it all? You don't have to tell me who's in the championship game. Just who you got in the Final Four, who you got winning it all?
Well, obviously my crazy pick, go Boilers. Boilers up.
Go.
But
I like it.
But after last year when they lost to North Texas, I probably should realize my limitations. With that said, I think that Arizona actually is my favorite. I think that I can't root for Kansas. I'm sorry, Kansas fans, but I can't root for Kansas. And I think Gonzaga is going to get snake bit somewhere. And if I have Purdue taking the other side of it, while I'm rooting for Purdue, I think that Arizona is your best bet.
Okay. All right. Paul, what you got?
All right, just to recap my Final Four: Arkansas, Purdue, Houston, Auburn. I have Purdue playing Auburn in the finals, and I have Auburn winning the whole thing. That's how bad I felt about the double dribble 3 years ago.
That's great.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. So I've got Gonzaga and Kentucky playing in the top, and Tennessee and Auburn, an all SEC Final Four. Actually, 3 of the 4. I don't know when the last time that happened. Maybe it was the Big East back when St. John's, Georgetown, and Villanova made the Final Four. But I'm predicting the SEC to be loud and proud. I don't even know where they're playing the Final Four this year. Do we know, Tom?
New Orleans. So if 3 of the 4 are from the SEC, New Orleans is going to be rocking.
You know, it's funny. Carolina usually wins when it's in New Orleans, but I don't think that's happening this year. I've got Gonzaga beating Auburn in the final. Chet Holmgren against Walker Kessler, 2 tall, skinny dudes battling it out. And Gonzaga living up to the hype for once, so Gilman can wear a Poolin hat next week.
I think for the next 15 years, they're going to have the best kids coming to their school, and they're never going to win the national championship.
That's just wrong. That's wrong. But you're probably right. Oh, man. Hey, good night, guys. So, Tom, thanks again for joining us. We had a great time. We'll see. Maybe we flow some more traffic to your website to get some more money out there for you to win this year.
Well, it wouldn't be for me to win. It would really be for whoever is going to stomp the Lunatic.
I love it. All right, guys.
Hey, hold on, Tom. What's your best showing?
That's a good question.
So I actually, the year that Duke won, I think it was like 2016. I finished second. I finished runner-up. And then when there was only back when it was before the site, so it doesn't. I don't feel like it should count because there's no like written record of it. But I did win when there was only like 60 some people in my pool.
Nice.
And then it went from 60 to 100. Then it went to like 170, and it kind of just blew up after that. And I've never come close since. So
it's tough.
Okay, hey, since we're talking about March Madness, and we will be for a while, I'm going to say this tonight and every Monday for the next 3 Mondays. UVA winning in 2019 and there being no season in 2020, I count that as 2 national championships.
I'm good with that. They defended their championship.
Don't encourage him, Tom. My goodness.
So, well, to be fair, if I remember right, before everything broke down, they were one of the top seeds, weren't they?
I don't know that they were one of the top seeds. They would have made the tournament and been competitive, but they lost their 3 best players from the prior year.
Well, you know what happens when they're a 1 seed, Tom. So I'm glad it didn't happen to him.
UVA still won more recently, Kevin, than Gonzaga, North Carolina. And matter of fact, I'm going to have a second favorite team too, so I can double my chances of winning the national championship.
Come on, man.
That's a good call.
It's a second favorite team, but it's because remember Gonzaga played UNC in the finals. There was no question about who I was rooting for. So, I mean, you can call it a second favorite team if you want, but kind of like Tech is for you. I got a son at Gonzaga.
Wait a minute. So in your scenario, that's true when they play each other, but when they don't play each other, you have 2 teams to root for.
Well, yeah, it makes it fun.
Tom, you and I are going to next year. We're going to come up with our top 10.
So I have
10
to.
Teams will win.
I have to tell you a story since you asked what's the best I've ever done in this, and you mentioned North Carolina. So my father-in-law was a North Carolina grad, and back in 2005, I think it was, North Carolina was playing Illinois for the national championship, and obviously a good Chicago guy. Okay, I picked my local team, Illinois, to win it all, and I was going. On my pool site, I do those scenarios where people like once you get to the Final Four, if this team wins, this person will win, and so on. Yep. So I did all of that. I was going to win the pool in 2005 if Illinois won. But there obviously were so many people who picked North Carolina that if North Carolina won, I was going to get totally taken out of the top 10, not in the running, right? And as history knows, the Tar Heels came out and beat the Fighting Illini. And that year, my father-in-law bought me a North Carolina National Champions T-shirt.
As well he should.
And sent me a note saying, I know this isn't as good as winning your pool, but I thought you should win something.
Wow.
I would have taken it in the backyard and burned it and videoed it.
So I hope the Tar Heels do well because I've rooted as much of the fact as I hated losing the pool. I've rooted for the Tar Heels ever since.
Well, thanks, Tom. We don't have Felton, McCants, or Sean May this year, so I don't think it's going to happen. But it's all good. It's all good. Cool, guys. Well, hey, thanks a lot. And Tom, if you want to hang on for a sec.